Welcome everyone to another episode of the Family Table. I know I've been away for a while, but I'm back since it's the Easter season and I'll be making crossbones for you guys. So just before we get started, I need you guys to make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure you hit the like button on this video, and then at the end I want you to get down in those comment sections, let me know what you think. Make sure you share this video with everyone you know. Now let's get into it. Bye. Okay, so for our cross buns, you're gonna need some flour. So I have 4.5 cups of bread flour, 100 grams of butter or margarine, 3/4 cups of granulated white sugar. I have a tablespoon of ground mixed spice, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/4 cup of currants, 1/4 cup of sultanas. These are optionals. You can also add raisins, cherries. Some people add mixed peel, which I do not like, so I won't be adding it to this recipe. A bit of salt, so I have about half of a teaspoon of salt. And in here I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence or extract and 1 teaspoon of lemon essence or extract. Some people use, some people use the fresh lemon or the fresh orange, whether you want to use the rind or the juice. Well, some people do, but I don't. And I have a packet of yeast, which is 7 grams of yeast. And you'll need a bit of water for mixing, and also in the end for a bit of honey or golden syrup, your choice, if you'd like to basically brush or glaze these cinnamon rolls. So now we're gonna mix. So for mixing our cinnamon rolls, we're gonna add all of the dry ingredients in. So in goes the salt, the sugar. I know the sugar may seem like a lot, but I want if I decide to eat my cross buns without any cheese or anything else, I can still enjoy it and there's a lot of flavor to it. Mixed spice, cinnamon, nutmeg. If you want a much more stronger in spice flavor to come through, you can mix this. You can add a bit more cinnamon and a bit more ground mixed spice. So I'm just gonna get a spoon and just mix all of this in. And also I'm gonna add the butter next. So I'm just gonna rub the butter into this after I've already mixed all of the spice and everything together. You know, sometimes people like in the Caribbean we like a lot of spice in our cross buns, but I find if you use too much, sometimes especially cinnamon, depending on the type of cinnamon you use, it helps. Well, it takes a lot longer to rise when you add that yeast, so sometimes you don't want to add too much because it's kind of like it kills the yeast a bit. But that's just what I have found. Don't know if there's any science behind it. So now I'm just gonna add the butter, and we're just gonna get our hands in there and just rub the butter into the flour. Okay, so now at this point that I've basically worked the flour into work the butter into the flour, I'm gonna add my fruits. So I've not added a lot because I do not want too much room for it to be overcrowded. So I'm just gonna mix that in good in my spoon. and I'm gonna add the flavoring. So the lemon essence or extract and vanilla essence or extract. So some people might use the fresh zest, which you can do, which is great, but just to cut the process a bit, I'll just gonna add a bit of the flavoring to the dough. Oh wait, no, before I do that, I'm gonna add the yeast and mix that in, because yeah, let's not forget the yeast, because then it will not raise. So we're using 1 packet of easy bake yeast. So that's the dried fast active yeast. So that's the one that you do not have to put in water and sugar and wait for it to set. So you just throw this in and it's easy and done, which is why I prefer it. We just mix that in. You just want to make sure everything is incorporated properly, all your spices and everything. And you can also see, the change in the color of the flour due to those spices. If you want it, you might find that, okay, this is not as, it's a bit on the lighter side, just add a bit more spices to it. So just add a bit more mixed spice stuff. So I'm just gonna add the flavorings, and what I'm gonna do now is to add water gradually and mix. I am using warm water. Depending on where you're from and the flour you're using, the brand of flour, the amount of water you use will vary. So you just want to add a little at a time, and then you're just going to form this into a large dough ball. Okay, so now I've finished mixing the crossbones, so you can have a look at the dough. So it's a nice soft dough. You can see peaks of the currants peeping out, but so I'm just gonna rest it in a bowl. I normally press it down a bit, and then now we're gonna allow this to rise. So you probably want to have this sit for about minimum of an hour, or however long it'll take to double in size, depending on where you live and the temperature. So if you live in a hot climate, it might rise a lot quicker. If it's cold, if you live in a cold climate like myself, you can probably put it in like in a warm oven or someplace, or just let it sit on the counter for a couple of hours and just allow that yeast to activate. And I'll show you what we do next when we get to that stage. Okay, so our dough has risen. I'm just gonna take this off, and we're just gonna knock all of the air out of it. Oh, you can smell all the spices, and we just give this a good knead. And now we're gonna start making these off into our cross buns. So just gonna cut a bit of the dough depending on the size you want, and we're gonna form these into our cross buns. If you find the dough is a bit too sticky for you, just add a little bit of flour, but I don't mind. And here we go. And I'm just gonna put this on a grease tray, and here we go. You try to keep those currants and the, well, raisins or sultanas, whatever you're using, try to keep them inside as possible. If you can just push them in the dough a bit, because what you don't want to do is have them exposed too much and then they start to burn as you bake. So yeah, so I'm just gonna make off the rest of the dough, and then I'll show you what to do next. So I've currently finished rolling out the cross buns. So I have about 10, about 12. But yeah, just depending on how big or how small you want them, you can get a lot more. This is a large pan, so they're in a grease pan. So now, for them to officially be cross buns, we need to put the cross on the buns. So what I have done, I've left a bit of extra dough which I'm about to roll out and cut, and I can put over each bun in the shape of a cross. Or what some people will do, instead of going through all of this work, if they don't want to, they'll take some scissors, some cooking shears, a scalpel, a razor blade, depending on what you have, and just cut across in the dough. Or if you do not like, or if you don't want it that way, what some people do, they'll mix a bit of flour and water, and so that is in a liquid consistency, and they'll make a cross on the cross buns, and when that's baked, it'll leave the cross mark on it. But I prefer to just to do it this way. So all you're just gonna need is a rolling pin, and we're gonna roll this out into some strips. Okay, so I just got a bit of flour and just add it to the surface, and I've rolled this out very thinly. So what you want to do now is either get a knife or a pizza cutter, and you just cut these into small strips into the size in which you want. So I'm just gonna cut these. Okay, so after I've cut the strips out, I've just cut them to your desired length, size, width, and then I've just made them into a cross on top of the cross buns. So what I'm gonna do now is just leave this to prove again. So we're just gonna leave this so it raises a bit. You don't want it fully doubled in size, so probably leave it about 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes to raise a bit, and then we'll get it into the oven, and I'll show you when we get to that stage. Okay, so I'll allow these to proof again for about 30 minutes because it's very cold where I am. Depending on where you are, you can just leave it to 15 to 20 minutes, and then now we're going to put this in the oven. Normally what I do is I take a bit of water and a pastry brush, and I just brush the top of the dough. Okay, so I've brushed all the cross buns with a bit of water to get rid of any excess flour, and obviously to prevent it from burning too quickly, because if you have dry flour on bread, it will burn or darken a lot quicker than you need it to do. So I'm going to bake these for about 30 minutes. My oven is 180 degrees. And I'll show you guys the end result and what we do next. So our cross buns are out of the oven, and they are nice and golden brown. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is glaze the cross buns. So I have a mix of honey and golden syrup. You can use honey. Some people use sugar and milk. Some people make like a simple syrup, just all on your taste. Or some people just leave it just like that. But I'm just gonna glaze this with that beautiful honey mix, and you can see that shine, and this just adds to the flavor. It'll help to soften the crust. It'll also give it that beautiful shine and just a sweet taste on the top. So I'm just gonna brush all of these, and then I'll show you the end product. Okay, so I've completely glazed all of the cross buns, if you can see that lovely shine on them. And I had a small sample in the back, like a little tiny one you can see that's missing from that spot. So I've tasted this and it is absolutely beautiful. And that's the end result. So I do hope you guys enjoy this recipe. So I want you guys to try it. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and let me know what other things you'd like to see me make. But just before you go, just make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. You hit the thumbs up button on this video and you share it with everyone you know. So okay guys, do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Been waiting so long